Hi guys, welcome back. I'm looking at how close I am to you guys. I'm like all up in it. These things be busting, yo. I love the sourness of them. I actually just got back from shopping in Harlem. I don't think I did too bad though. Considering it could be a lot worse. I'm gonna show you guys what I got. I don't think I intended to spend as much as I did though. Because I had in mind like a specific item that I wanted to get from the market if they had it. Because I saw this item on a person's IG story. This new friend that I made while out in Brooklyn, he's a fashion designer. He makes a lot of African attire. And I saw that he was flaunting this beautiful Malian mudcloth vest. And I'm like, I want that, right? I asked him how much, and he said, I think like $148. And I'm like, So I was inspired to revisit one of my favorite places that I go shopping at, which is the Malcolm Shabazz African Market in Harlem on 116th Street. I went there today, and I'm so happy that they had a lot of beautiful things, new things, because I usually go there. I frequent that place, like I would say maybe once every month. So I am actually going to show you guys what I got, and I'm going to also try these things on. Now, it reminded me of a conversation I had with one of my previous supervisors when I was in my doctoral program out in Los Angeles, right? I was working at like an African-centered clinical site in Inglewood, and I had discovered this African market or African like clothing store, right? And along that same strip in Inglewood was also a Chinese store, and they sold like African clothing, particularly like skirts, right? African skirts. And I got a few items, and I remember how I felt so in tune, I would say, with myself and my identity and my culture. I felt very proud of myself in wearing what I had purchased. And I think it was like, it wasn't my first, right? Because my first dashiki I actually got, I think, during my second year of training, right? When I was out in LA. This was like around 2017. I remember it. I got this African dashiki, and I just love the way it made me feel when I put it on and when I wore it to work, when I wore it out. I got like a lot of compliments, and so I wanted to continue to relish in that glory, that African glory. And I remember when I started my clinical rotation out in Inglewood, I saw the African shop, so I bought some African skirts and I wore it to work. And I remember my supervisor was like telling me, she was like identifying with my research interest being that I was studying the construct of Black identity and acculturation. And within the, kind of make a long story short, right, Black identity is like a process, it's a developmental process that we go through as African Americans within the context of white supremacy. So that's one of the constructs that I was studying in my dissertation research. And obviously I have a very close affinity to the topic, and my supervisor was like, oh yeah, I remember, I studied something similar, and I remember like when I was exposed to like indigenous African culture and regalia, like I went crazy and I was wearing all this African clothing, and she was speaking of it as if it was like a phase, right? Trying to tie it into the actual Black identity, a developmental model. Is a kind of widely researched model developed by a psychologist, right? And so it's actually developed by a white psychologist, William E. Cross. And I find it funny that number one, he's white, but I think when you like Google search him, his description comes up as like an African psychologist. I'm like, he's not an African. I mean, he studies like, I guess, you know, the African experience, African American experience, but he's clearly not African. This is a white man. But anyway, she was like trying to relate her experience and I guess her development, her black identity development as a budding psychologist, and tying it to like the cross black identity, you know, racial identity development model that I was researching. She was like, yeah, I went crazy and I went on all these things. And so she was trying to kind of like imply that for me, it was like a phase, because it was a phase for her. And I'm just like, but this isn't a phase. It's like once you come across something that you really love and you really like and you immerse yourself into it, it becomes you, right? And I remember part of my training, and I'm about to get to these items in a minute, but I have to preface this by saying like part of like our training as a clinical psychologist, we are required to undergo psychotherapy by a licensed psychologist. And so I remember I saw a psychoanalyst, white woman, by the way, and she had me watch this TED Talk, one of my homework assignments for therapy. And the TED Talk, I gotta go find it, because she emailed it to me, right? I need to go find it, because I keep referencing this video. But I watched the TED Talk, and basically in a nutshell, the TED Talk was basically saying how what we wear, right, our outer appearance reflects like who we are. And also, it's a reflection of who we are, but it also can shape who we are, right? It can influence, like, how we feel about ourselves. And I'm like, that's very powerful. And I'm thinking up until that point, and before I had started my psychotherapy, I've always been like a plain Jane, like really laid back, not really obsessed with fashion and what I wear. Anybody know me can attest to this. I just been like really fucking laid back, like really wearing whatever, right? But it was like something got sparked within me when I was in Los Angeles working on my PhD, and like putting on my first dashiki and just the way it made me feel, and buying my first African skirts. I just felt so empowered, so invigorated, right? And then not only to mention like the response from the public, from other people, when I go out and I'm wearing these things, I get so many compliments. Like I get showered, right, with compliments. And so it's like a reinforcer, right, obviously. So yeah, I think that's interesting that my black supervisor, psychologist, had the nerve to think that it's a phase, right? I get it though, because she was trying to like integrate her experience with the Black Identity Development Research Model, which has a lot of flaws, by the way. My dissertation research actually talks about that. That's a whole separate video. But now that I think about it, yeah. And for you guys who don't know what it is, right, I can't move forward without kind of like going a little bit further to explain the model, because basically it's saying that this is what this psychologist, William E. Cross, kind of noticed, right, in saying that he observed a pattern within African Americans where prior to experiencing an encounter, like a racial encounter, and that encounter typically is negative, right, i.e. like police brutality, killings, being directly the object of racial discrimination, or indirectly, let's say, witnessing someone else go through that. Prior to that encounter, he observed like African Americans having like really self-hatred, right? Not really knowing who they are, being in tune with their African, identity or racial identity, not really being as silly, and then they encounter this racial experience, negative, that kind of triggers them, right? It nudges them, wakes them up. It opens their eyes, because you have people that say, oh, well, race or color doesn't matter. They don't really see color, so to speak. So that would be like the pre-encounter stage for those African Americans, and then they experience an encounter. The encounter is like what kind of like, wakes them up. And then after that, they tend to vacillate between like two extremes of being like overly immersed into the African culture, or being immersed into like the white culture. And they kind of have this internal struggle with like, where do I fit, where do I belong? And then once they resolve that internal conflict, then they begin to kind of understand and accept reality, common reality, that we live in America. And the system is kind of what it is, though like many efforts have been made and are still being made to bring about political change for African Americans. It's a pretty stagnant system that's, at play, that's operating. And so in the last stage of this Black Identity Development model, it says that, you kind of come to a resolution, a resolve of acceptance, and being able to integrate your identity as a proud Black man or woman within the context of the system, right? And I don't like how, because granted, we are researchers, right? Scientists, and science is supposed to be very objective, but every, researcher has their own agenda. So it's clear that he basically is suggesting that we kind of develop this multicultural attitude. I don't like that part. But anyway, that's my own personal perspective. So I had to say that, all that to say that, yeah, it wasn't a phase for me. Like, and also I meant to say, yeah, like with after the encounter, and the immersion, you kind of really deeply immerse yourself into African culture. You emerge from the toxic white dominant culture, and you immerse yourself in this African culture, the newfound African identity. And with that, some of the descriptors to explain what that looks like is that, you get all this African clothing and regalia, and you just kind of go like crazy with it. She's like, I'm a newfound African kind of thing, right? So my supervisor was, pointing that out in one of our meetings, saying that, she remembered she went through that phase, trying to suggest like, oh, that's the phase that I was in when she saw I would come to work wearing my pretty African dresses. I'm like, this is not a phase. And let's say she was right. If it was a phase, that's a long ass phase, right? Because this was back in, we're talking about 2018. This is like 2018 when I was working at that site. We're in 2020. It's a long phase. It's not a phase, though. It's definitely not a phase. I found my place. So I want to show you guys. Now, like I said, granted, I did not intend, I did not freaking intend on spending as much money as I did. And funny enough, this first thing I'm going to show you guys, this is the first vendor I stopped at, right? Feel free to chime in, you guys, if you have any questions, comments. She tied this thing pretty strong here. Hold up. I am going to try this on, so let me, hold on. So these are two separate things. I think I shopped at 4 different vendors I shopped at. Your girl was shopping today. I was, yo. So I'm going to take this off. By the way, I just created a new playlist on YouTube of all of my shopping hauls, right? Going all the way back to LA, even before I moved to LA, when I was living in New York City, right? In 2014. Then I moved to LA in 2016 to pursue my PhD. I just gathered all of my videos, right, shopping haul videos, and I made a playlist. I just did this, right, on the train, when I was on the train, on my way back to my place just now. And so, you guys can check out all of those. But I actually got this from this place called Safari Tribe in Brooklyn on Flatbush. I have 2 of these, so you guys see that I wear this. I'm not wearing the same one every single time. They look similar, but they're not the exact same. And it's indigenous to West Africa, Senegal, the Baifal culture. So, alright, so I got these, y'all. Oh, I just thought this was so beautiful, right? It's funny because a lot of, okay, moment of truth here, right? I love my fellow Africans. No one knows everything. So let's be clear. No one knows everything. But I find it that, when I ask Africans, okay, what is this? Who is this, right? Sometimes they be selling items and they don't really know the cultural or historical significance of it. They just sell it. Even if they're from Africa, because Africa is very diverse. It's made up of 54 countries, and so they may be of one tribe or culture and country, but doesn't mean that they know everything, right? So I'm asking her, I'm like, who is this? I'm like, is this Martin Luther King? All right, who does this look to you guys? Oh, who is that? I just think it's beautiful though, right? He says, a lot of brown people get into African culture without doing research, not knowing where their ancestors are from. So, what is that supposed to mean? Doesn't mean they can't learn. We're all here to learn, right? When I purchased this coat, right, I did not know which particular culture this coat was from. I thought it was nice. It's beautiful. I knew it was African, clearly, but I didn't know the specifics of it until I put it on and I went for a walk through Harlem. And this guy approached me from Senegal. First of all, before he approached me, he was like, "By fall." He yelled it out. I'm like, obviously it didn't resonate. And then he was like, "By fall." This is finding me very funny, y'all. And so I stopped, he stopped me, and then we were talking. Right? So there's conversation starters, You don't have to know everything. Doesn't mean that you can't buy it. You have to know it just to buy it. So, that was the beginning of our friendship. Just me wearing this coat and him identifying, recognizing it. And then he gave me a history lesson. So you see how that works? He told me the significance behind this coat because he asked me first did I know, and I'm like, obviously I don't, because he said by fall, it didn't resonate with me. And then he explained to me what it is, and then I had to look it up. I googled it. I looked it up on YouTube and saw some videos. And it's interesting though, because though we may not consciously know something, right, it doesn't mean subconsciously we're not driven towards that. So it's a reason why I got this, because when I learned about the Bifal people, they are me and I am them, right? The culture, they wear locks, they oppose, they're kind of opposed to the structure of society. They resist society in a sense. What's the word for it? I'm trying to think of the word. And so it's the same thing with me, It's a word for that. My mind is slipping my memory. So I find it to be interesting. I'm just it's the reason why I was drawn to this. Because I look at the people, I'm like, yo, that's me all the way. So I haven't, when I purchased these, I didn't try anything on, by the way, right? So I'm going to try this on. Now, this person here, watching this, who is this guy? A name comes to mind, and I meant to, Google it before I start this video, but clearly I didn't do that. But tell me, who is this person, you guys? It's not Patrice, is it? No. It's a familiar face. But no one knows. See, you don't even know. No one knows everything. Alright, so I'm going to put this on. Actually, I said, is this one size fits all? Because the last thing I want to do is buy something and it doesn't fit, yo. That would be so disappointing. To buy something that doesn't fit. Alright, now this kind of comes kind of tight, but that's a motivator. It's not tight, it's just like not super roomy. But it's perfect. I think I'm going to wear this to work tomorrow with the long sleeve shirt. I love this. Yeah. I love this. Fits perfectly. Put a cell phone there. Love the design. I love the colors. It's funny, like, I love me some African shop. I love them. They know me very well because I shop there often, so they recognize me. Like, oh, my friend, she's back. Oh yes, I'm back. So I like this. But it's funny because she tried to make, like, sometimes they try to make suggestions for, like, oh, check this out. You like this? I'm like, nah, I know exactly what I like. It's a color thing. I definitely like earth tone colors. I love it. Yeah, I'm definitely wearing this tomorrow. She gave me a deal, so let's see. Say more about that, Dwayne, about your comment. And I hate that we associate colors to people. That's, I feel like, a very mundane way of describing a person by saying black or brown. Clearly, I'm going to have to pull it over my head like this to get it off. Black, brown people, white people. White people not even white. They're not even white, yo. Alright. Look at my head, yo. I just got a fight. Alright. Speaking of which, though, like, I've noticed recently how there are a lot of white people that be at the market when I'm there. I'm like, look at white people trying to get in where they fit in. Oh, so this material is a little bit lighter. It's a little bit thinner. It's like the material of, like, let's say, hospital scrubs. But this material is thicker, which I love. I like the thick material. Feels more like jean material. So I have another one similar, but I think this is a little bit bigger and longer. Comes down longer than the other one. So yeah, some white people were there and, like, peeking in, seeing what they can buy, what piques their interest. Wasn't that many though, just a few. But I think that's interesting because they find, like, yo, you know, clearly white people. I feel like the opening for the top is just big enough, right, to accommodate the size of my head. Cutting kind of close here, right? But they clearly find, like, white people find our culture so fascinating. But they act like they don't like us, but they like our culture. That's a contradiction, right? Big contradiction. I must say, I was looking for my, I was looking for this. My drum. But yeah, I must say, like, even though I would say, okay, I kind of, like, not just, right, because just meaning, like, immediately, but when I was talking about back in LA when I got my first dashiki, which I did make a video on my first dashiki. I was, this is like a whole, like the spiritual journey, right? And your identity as an African person, African American, displaced African, right? It's a journey. So I look at and I think back to like even growing up, right? When I was younger, in my 20s, even my teens, like I always found myself wearing indigenous jewelry, indigenous style jewelry. So that's not a surprise. I've always burnt incense, by the way. That's nothing new. I've always been like this very natural kind of tribal person. You know, my personality has always been that way. So that's nothing new. And clearly my locks are not new. I started these back in 2005, okay? So nothing new here. But I'm loving this. Should I wear this tomorrow? I was going to wear this week. It's funny because I do work at a hospital and I work with psych patients, right, as a psychologist. And we go through this training, right, all this defense training and all of that. And I have a whole bunch of meetings with, other treatment team members, psychiatrists, other psychologists, nursing staff. We're a very integrated team, social worker. And they're like, hey, morning, don't wear anything to work that you hold to be valuable, right? And y'all know I don't follow directions very well, purposefully, I think. No, I'm just my own person, and so though, of course, I value what I purchase, right? My clothing. I'm still gonna wear my African attire because it represents me. This is me. So, very happy with my purchase. Oh, and I did do some more shopping like several days ago. I got a bunch of long sleeve shirts, so I can definitely wear my long sleeve shirts up under here. But the thing is funny because like this is my first time working at a psych hospital. Obviously, I've worked at other psych hospitals, and I remember, was it a psych hospital? Was this a psych hospital I worked at, or a clinical site? Either way, I used to wear like this army fatigue coat kind of thing, like overall thing, to work with pockets where I would put my pens and stuff in, right? And I still have it, by the way. And it's funny because like when I was moving here into this place, I was unpacking everything, going through all of my bags of clothes and stuff. And I was looking at different items, and I'm holding it up, and I'm like, dang, how did I rip this? And it dawned on me, like, oh, I remember. It was a client, it was a patient who grabbed it, right? She grabbed, I think I remember now. She grabbed it, and yeah, but some patients have a way of like interacting. Sometimes they don't mean any harm. They're just trying to get your attention. And some are so strong because they've been on psychotropic medication for many, many fucking years, yo. They have like supernatural strength. So yeah, I think she was just like trying to get my attention. She like grabbed my pocket and then it ripped. Just slightly though, not like all the way down. But I still have it. It's like, for me, it's just something I guess sacred about things like that. I'm a person, I tend to like hold on to, I tend to like keep things. I have like all of my client like memorabilia. I have a whole memorabilia box that I created for gifts that clients have given me over the years. My first psych hospital I worked at back in Tallahassee, Florida, this client actually drew me. He drew my face. He asked me first though. He asked me first, it was like, can I draw you? And I was like, sure, why not? So he drew me. That's when my locks were really short. I still have that too. I think I actually posted it. I think I did. I posted that on my page on Facebook. But he drew me. It's funny though. He wasn't able to finish. He wasn't able to finish it because he did like as much as he could, right? Like the outline, like of my face and my features of my face, my locks, so you can see that. But he wasn't able to add like detail. And it's funny because I remember we were running out of time that day. And I was like, oh, we can just do it later. But he ended up getting discharged because the hospital was more like a very short-term stay. It was a stabilization unit. So usually they're held for like 72-hour hold, you know, involuntary treatment, involuntary hold. And then, yeah, he got discharged. So I got this dress. Go really close, you can see those are shells. From what I understand, those shells were used as like trade beads, but it has like very important historical significance to it. I heard they're like slave trade beads too. As you guys can see, I love this design, like this kind of design, like I love it. So I got a few of these. This is like my fourth. I actually have another one that I purchased like weeks ago. You guys already saw that one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I need to get me some leggings too. I'm trying to find a place where I can get a deal on the leggings so I can buy like 10 leggings for like $20. Where can I find that at? I need a deal like that, yo. For real. So this is a skirt. And I'm loving it because, I don't know if you guys can see. You see how far it comes. Just below my knee, actually. So if I was to wear this to work, I definitely would not just wear this. I would wear some pants underneath this. But I love this. Very comfortable. Very roomy. So yeah, alongside the comment, you don't have to know everything about African culture to wear the clothing. I think that's, for me, that's the fun part about it. It's just like, do you know everything about a vacation location, destination before you book it? No, you don't know everything. You may know some things. You may not know anything, right? And then that's the fun part about it, you know? Not knowing anything, and then you go and you discover so much, right? So I like to do that when I purchase African clothing. Sometimes before I buy, I ask them, you know, what's the meaning of this or where is it from, just to get an idea. But you don't have to know to buy it. And you don't like the meaning, you can always change it. But I feel like this is a thing, like many of African, if it's African, it has good meaning to it. That's how I look at it. It's rare that you're gonna find or buy like an African clothing or regalia, paraphernalia, anything of the sort, and it has like a negative connotation to it. You know, even if it has a negative connotation, it still has significance. That's how I look at it. So doesn't matter, clearly. I love it. This has the same material as the first, but it is a little thicker though than the shirt that I got. Me love, me love. I am going to the park today. Oh, I should have tried this on with the dress, but I actually got this. You guys need to see my belly. But I actually got this necklace. It's a choker. I'm also going to wear it to work. I love it. Isn't that cute? They're going to be like, that's a hazard. You shouldn't wear that. Because the patients can just pull it off. Yo, if they pull this shit, I'm like... But anyways, I like it. I love it actually. Yellow is my color, and I wore a yellow hoodie to one of my trainings this past week. And I stood out. Like, yellow definitely is my color. I don't wear clothing necessarily to stand out, but it does make you stand out. I would say all earth tone colors are my color. Have you done your research on your history to see where your ancestors are from? This is a thing. Like, this is a thing, right? A lot of African Americans are taking the African ancestry DNA test. Just because you take that test and those results come back and they say, oh, well, you're 80% Nigerian. I mean, I don't put much weight in those test results anyway. It's just, for me, I feel like it's very redundant to take a DNA test, right? Look to them to tell you who you are and where you come from, as if you don't already know, as if it's not already clear. You can't trust those things. I just feel like you can't trust it, right? And there are people that have taken 2 different tests at 2 different points in time from the same company and got completely different results, right? So how do you explain that? I'm just saying though. I'm in the process of just waiting for the results. No, I didn't go through Ancestry.com. Okay, where did you go? African Ancestry? That's why you mentioned your first comment about people like jumping into African culture and not knowing their ancestry. Stop calling people brown. I find that's a very ignorant thing to say. Alright, so I got this. And all together, these 3. Alright, these 2 shirts. These 2 tops. These 2 tops, and then this dress, right? 2 tops and this dress, I think, came up to $70. Not bad at all. And then this was only $7. Y'all gotta go check out my unveiling my African jewelry. I did a whole African jewelry box video. I have a ton of African jewelry, y'all. So all of this came up to $77, including the necklace. Everyone came from Africa, and before it was Africa, it pretty much was like one big landmass. Pangea, right? So we all originate from that geographical region that we know today to be Africa. We all come from there. And Africa, like to be African isn't just specific to a geographical location as it is a type of DNA. You can look at a person's DNA and tell they're African, right? And people just migrated to different other regions in the world, and so that's how you get, South American, different countries and stuff. Oh, I can show you guys one more thing. Brazilian, Caribbean, different types of African. But the thing about Pan-Africanism, right, is we're all African. You have to know your indigenous roots, right? Now, when you research your ancestry, of course, we're talking about generations. So your immediate generations may be, let's say, American, right? Even my mom's father, my maternal grandfather, is Native American. He's Indian. You can clearly see the Indian features in him, right? That's my immediate ancestry. But you go back, yeah, it's going to trace back to Africa, right? You may have some ancestors that are from Spain or from, countries in South America. Like, we're all over the place. It's ignorant if I don't know where they come from. I can't put all people of our color in the same. But don't. I didn't know this had this on it. I'm mad I got it now. I didn't know this had this thing on it here. You said, it is ignorant if I don't know where they come from. I can't put all people of our color in this. So you know how you say that? You say melanated. That's the term you use, right? We don't say brown people. That's an insult if you ask me. I don't know, I just feel like that's very reductionary. Brown people. It sounds like very elementary. I think there's, I didn't purchase this though. She gave like the same place. This is still the first vendor, all right? I went to 4 different vendors. This is still the first vendor where I got the 2 tops that I just showed you guys in the dress from. And this, it's all the same vendor, the first vendor. And she gave me this for free. She was like, oh, you want a mask? Feel free to take a mask. Just as a gift. So I love shopping with Africans, y'all. They be looking out big time. But there are different sides to that argument, right? On one hand, I think you're right, Dwayne, to say, because I also agree with you in that respect, to say that there are a group of people, right, that appear to be melanated, that have circumnavigated the world. And so when you trace our ancestry, you'll see that we're from all over. Not necessarily like directly from Africa, though what I was saying in the beginning, I believe it is true that everyone, including European people, come from the region, right? Because it was all one Pangea. It was all pretty much Africa until it broke off into different land masses, which we know as continents. So we all come from Africa. I didn't know it had this on it, guys, but maybe it's a good thing. This is my first time ever getting a mask like this. I guess it helps to breathe. Is that a pistol bag? No, I definitely don't own any guns and have no interest in owning a gun at all. But hey, it has this, yo. It fucking fucks up the whole thing. What's this thing on here, y'all? You say, why do we say, Dwayne, let me know, right? Because I sent some defensiveness coming from you. That's what I'm picking up, some defensiveness, right? The energy I feel is a bit off. Answer me this, right? And then I'll answer your question. Your significant other, wife, aka girlfriend, female partner, what is her ethnic background? I've wanted to ask you that. I don't think she is black, as we say, or melanated. So before we go further, answer that question, then we can talk. Yeah. I'm glad that she gave me this for free, but I don't see the purpose of this. It's not like you can breathe better with it. I think it's just for design. Wish I would have. How did I not see that on there? Because it was like this. I saw this part. I didn't see this part. You said she's German and black. Okay, so she's biracial. I figured. Because I think I saw pictures of your children and they didn't appear to be, 100% black or melanated or African. Synonymously, I use those words interchangeably. Right? Makes sense. Because that then will obviously influence how you identify yourself. Not wanting to identify yourself as an African man. So that makes sense. Alright, so that's the first vendor. Put it to the side. Moving on to the next. Put these back in here. I think melanated people, some, not all, but some want to be everything but African. And that makes sense because people don't take pride in their African ancestry, their roots, their culture. They don't. So then they explain away, oh, well, I'm not African. I'm this. I'm German. I'm Italian. I have this in my ancestry. I have this in my... They don't want to do that. They don't want to identify that. You say you're waiting on your results, right? Which company did you go through again? And when you get your results and then it shows that you're predominantly African, then what? Then what, right? But no one, people are in complete denial. And like I said, I get it because, you think of, when you say Africa, you ask people, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Honestly, right, they can at least be honest about what comes to mind. Usually it's negative. Especially, when they're not educated. And they're younger, Just think back in history when we were coming up in school, right? And someone want to call you, oh, you African booty scratcher. People make jokes about being African. It's not something that people take pride in necessarily. So I get it. You think of the images, like what comes to mind when you think of Africa visually is like dilapidated land and, poverty, and they don't think of nice things, right? When people begin to plan for vacation and take trips, they skip over Africa. They go everywhere else but Africa. No one wants to go to Africa. So, I get it. I mean, and legitimately so. They may have their legitimate reasons for why they, deny their African identity, heritage. They're ashamed of it. They want to disassociate themselves and create all other kind of rationales, right? They'll cling on to their other hyphenated identity, but will deny the African part. Moving along to the second vendor. All right. Now it's funny because this vendor, he sits midway through the market, right? So you're walking through the market, the middle section. He's there. He's a bit aggressive though. But I like his stuff that he has. He's cool. He's a bit aggressive. Now this, I know it all looks the same, right? But this is different. This is actually Bob Marley. Imagine me wearing this to work. I'm definitely going to wear this to work, repping Bob Marley. I'm about to try this on. But he's cool. I say he's aggressive because every time I pass through there, like, he's trying to force me to buy shit, right? And his competitor is like directly across from him. And I usually purchase from his, like, I don't say competitor, but his neighbor right across the hall from him. That's where I got my, I gotta go fast because I have down to 15%. But that's actually where I got my Malian mud cloth coat from. I'm not gonna bring it out, but you guys, I have made a video on that. And he wasn't there today. I asked him, I said, where's your neighbor? He was like, who? I said, the guy right there across from you. It's like, oh, he's in Africa. I'm like, okay, he needs to come back. Because I wanted to ask him, could he make something for me? But he's not, he wasn't there. Okay, I'm loving this. I'm loving it. Very fashionable. I just love the material. I have a lot of Malian mud cloth. I was like, what the fuck was that? That was the this incense here I'm burning. I have a lot of Malian mud cloth blankets though. Alright. So this is so this is from the second vendor. I gotta go quick, unfortunately. He goes, my battery is dying. And then I got another purse. Molly Mudcloth purse. Oh yeah. Loving it. Loving it. So this is like my third one. I have two of these prior to me doing this shopping haul. This is my third one. Very comfortable, convenient. I like that it's two-tone here. So this was $70, I think. This and this combined. This was $45. This was $25. So altogether, we're talking about $70. I love it. I love the colors. And repping my boy, Bud Molly, Rastafari. People think I'm Rastafari. I'm not Rastafarian, by the way. But I respect the culture, though. Alright? You don't have to be Rastafarian to wear Bob Marley. Alright, moving along. Before my battery dies. I love my purchase. It's a really good feeling, like when you make a really good purchase. Love it. Love, love, love. Yeah, who you choose to marry, because marriage is a choice. I know people often say, oh, well, I fell in love with this person, right? I just fell in love. I tripped and fell. But you don't fall into a marriage. That's definitely a choice. So I'm pulling out this massive, heavy Malian coat. I got another one, right? Yet another one. Alright, I'm unbutton it. And then I'm going to try it on. Because like I said, I just purchased all of these items. And I didn't try anything on when I was at the market. I just eyeballed it and like, yeah, that's mine right there. Let me get that. Let me get that there. Alright, I'm definitely about to put this on. This is my second Malian coat. The other one is more designed like a, would you say, a pea coat / trench coat. It has a belt. My first Malian coat that I purchased last year. And I got my second today, right here. I'm about to, this thing got weight on it, y'all. I saw it, it was like in the middle section, the middle aisle, shall I say, straight down the middle when you walk in. hanging up, and I'm just like, oh yeah, you know that's mine right there. You know, that's saying my name all the way. I had to get this. It has buttons. I was kind of like looking at the buttons. I'm like kind of questionable. Like, I think I would have preferred it to be just like open and just having a belt, but it has buttons. So I'm like, all right, I'll work with the buttons. And then it has pockets, which is necessary. So before I button this, I should have showed you guys the lining. I'll show you guys the lining after. Oh, I like it. It's very roomy though. So I'm a size like 7, 8-ish, I would say. Which translate into like a size medium shirt, top. Sometimes I buy large. I don't wear extra large. But if it's a coat, right, a jacket, then yeah, I'll get like a large. This seems like it might be large, extra large. So let me show you guys the lining before I run out of battery. This is Malian mud cloth. Mali is a country in West Africa. And this is the lining of it. I love it. It's thick though, right? It's thick. Keep you warm, which is necessary. Mali is already thick by itself. The material of Malian. Like I have a few Malian blankets. I have like several actually. This is one right here I cover up with. So the material for Mali is already kind of thick. Anyway, and then definitely it has some insulation here in the lining. There's a Mali mud cloth hanging up right there. My exposed brick wall. So I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, let me take this off. Oh, the same vendor, right? I got this mask. I'm going to hang up on my wall. It's very unique carving. Made in Ghana. So, you guys really want to know how much this costs? The grand total for this coat in and of itself was only $150. My first Malian mudcloth coat was $180. $150. I love it. Not bad. Alright. By the way, my first Malian mudcloth, and I tell you guys this like all the time, where it's broke. It's heavy to the extent where it's broken at least 3 hangers. At least 3 hangers is broken, so I know that's probably going to break some hangers. So I got to be very careful. Now, my last thing I got today actually was some socks. Let's see. Alright. Oh, we have 7%, so we have time. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually try these socks on, but I have to put these to the side. Should get a scale to weigh this coat. Let's see, how much does it really weigh? I would say at least, I don't know, 10 pounds. Is that what it feels like? Alright. Alright. Bring you guys. Alright, check this out. So I got these socks. Also, from all this stuff comes from, that I showed you guys here in this video, comes from the Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Market on 116th Street in Harlem, New York. And this was the last vendor I stopped at. Got these socks. Seem pretty familiar because you guys will see I did a whole nother video. This was last year, I believe, where I had purchased something similar, a pack like this, from a vendor on 125th Street in Harlem. So I'm about to put these on. I love colorful socks. I love color, by the way. 5% battery. So I'm going to put these on. Which one? Black. So I think you said there were 12 here in the pack. 12 for $10. Not bad, right? So altogether, how much did I spend at the market? From the first vendor, it was $77. The second vendor was $70. What's that? $147. The third vendor, I got that coat. That was $150. So that's already what? Almost 300. Right? And then I got these socks. Yo, my feet are like screaming for attention from the spa. They're like, please take us to the spa, get a foot. So I love these, it's comfortable. Alright, I'm about to end this video. I'm going to catch you guys later in the next one. I'm going to premiere this live on YouTube. I see my aunt watching. Hello, how are you, Mary Lou? Hope all is well down there in Florida. I should be coming to visit probably pretty soon. We'll see. We shall see. It's my second week officially. Well, this past week was my second week at my new job working at the hospital. I'm loving it. That note, catch you guys later. Peace.